Hello, hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to another teaching session, or is it a confession? I'm excited to tell you about an experience I had with performance anxiety. You may have seen my TED Talk, or TED Talks, plural. You may have seen me live on stage or been at one of my events, but I wasn't always as confident as you see me today. So I am excited to talk to you about the neuroscience of performance anxiety. Sound like fun? Sound like something you could use? Well, if you happen to be an artist or a performer, or you want to be a performer or a podcaster or a public speaker, then this video is for you because I'm going to share how I overcame performance anxiety, also known as the jitters, or, what do you call it? What do you call your fear of public speaking or fear of, performing? Let me know. So I'm going to share a little bit about something that happened many, many years ago when I was taking piano lessons. I was trained in classical piano and I was getting ready for a performance, as one does. And for most people, getting ready to perform in front of an audience brings up all sorts of stuff. You get, what do you get? What do you get inside of your body when you have to perform? And that could be speaking in front of your colleagues. It could be teaching online, or it could be, just giving a presentation for your boss. What comes up in you feeling-wise? Do you find that your heart starts to race? Do you get sweaty palms? Do you find that your mouth gets dry? Or do words just get stuck in your throat and they're hard to come out? Type in the chat. Let me know when you need to perform in whatever way that is, as an athlete, as a singer, as a speaker. What happens inside of you? I'm curious to know. So for me, when I am about to go on stage, I start to feel my heart rev up. I can generally feel that I get a little bit warmer. When I'm about to step on stage or, take over the mic, I actually feel excitement. And that is one of the key things that I'm going to share with you about hacking your brain for the ultimate workaround for performance anxiety. Because in all actuality, our brain doesn't really distinguish the difference between positive excitement and negative freak out. I'm just talking about, public speaking and that kind of stuff. I'm not talking about in the grand scheme of trauma, which I happen to talk a lot about. If you don't know who I am, I'm Dr. Andrea Pennington. And yes, I do a lot of trauma teaching. I am a healer, a facilitator of psychedelic integration, and I help people reclaim a sense of peace in their physiology and their body after trauma, healing from adverse childhood experiences, and I also help people improve their performance as speakers. So for me, this was many years ago, I was taking classical piano lessons and I was working on this piece by Mozart. And I rehearsed it and I rehearsed it so many times. And at home, it sounded great. I thought I was all ready for this big piano recital. Well, I stepped up on stage. My family was in the audience. There was lots of people there. They even had these pretty lights. I was just like 12 years old. But I stepped on stage and I sat down at the piano. And I froze. Not one single note did I play. And I remember looking at my piano teacher. I stood up and I walked off the stage. Yeah. After months of practice on that one piece, I didn't even play it. So what do you think happened? Well, we typically just call that the stress response. Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. I like to replace the last F, fawn, with appease. But I digress. So the stress response is what happened to me. Normally, when we are under pressure, when we need to perform, when there's, a lot on the line, whether that's real or figuratively, we perceive that as a threat. And that threat to our survival, or the survival of our gentle little ego, sends off a cascade, a neurochemical cascade, where your brain and my brain get hijacked. And that is what happened to me on that stage. So when the stress response kicks in, most of us talk about cortisol and epinephrine and noradrenaline and adrenaline and all these chemicals that come to mobilize our energy, our muscles, our oxygen capacity. That's why if you are one of those people who gets nervous and you start to hyperventilate, you breathe very shallowly, or maybe you feel your heart pounding in your chest, or you start to sweat, or you get dry in the mouth. All of that is happening by all of these chemicals that come on when we're in that stress response. So fight, when the stress response kicks in, maybe you want to kick ass. It's an evolutionary response to keep the species safe. So that fight means you're going to try to kill that bear. Flight means to run, to flee, which is kind of what I did. Or the freeze response, where it's kind of like the deer in a headlight, kind of like you can't think of anything. I mean, has this ever happened to you when you were in a heated discussion? Someone may have either confronted you or you wanted to confront them, and you found yourself not able to formulate a clear thought? I mean, have you ever had an argument and then you get back and you're like, I should have said, what happened? Why were you not able to come up with those clever cut downs or to respond in a coherent way? That's what happens when our brain gets hijacked. Fight, flight, freeze. And the last one, I say appease. If you like to keep it with the 4 F's, it's fawning. And fawning is when you give in to someone and you placate someone or you appease someone. And that also can happen for people when they get really freaked out. They start to go into caretaking and nurturing and putting other people's needs ahead of their own. So with me sitting on that stage, my brain was hijacked and I went into freeze. And when I realized that weren't no notes coming out, Mozart was not going to be played, I stood up and walked off that stage. So performance anxiety is something that happens to all kinds of people. Athletes, performers, musicians, public speakers, CEOs, medical students when they first had to present on rounds. So that brain hijack, when that comes on, it's interesting to know that we basically have no connection with the cortex, and specifically this. I mean, have you ever been after an argument or you did something that you wish you didn't do or said something you wish you hadn't said and you're like, don't. Well, why do we do that? It's because this prefrontal cortex, this front part of our brain that normally takes care of executive function, social engagement, it goes offline with the stress response. Literally all you've got is this lower brainstem working, and that's all about survival. That's why you move into fight, flight, freeze, or appease. It's just to keep you safe. It's not to keep you clever. And so if that's ever happened to you, the solution I recommend is meditation. Yes, I know I'm a meditation teacher, so of course I'm going to tell you to meditate, but I've got neuroscience to back me up. And this is what has helped me as a performer, as an actor, as a singer. I mean, I saw that Helena Phillipson is here. What's up, Lena? We got on that TEDx stage just in 2019 where I actually sang live. So I've mastered this stress response thing, and one of the things that did it for me is meditation. So how many people out there feel like you are a good meditator? Give me a thumbs up or hearts. And if you're watching on the replay, type in #replay and let me know. Do you consider yourself a good meditator? And I'll let you type in while I chat away. A good meditator might be someone who can sit and not have so many distractions, to be able to focus and concentrate on your breath or a sensation or a mantra. Well, I wasn't always good at that. Now I love spending hours in meditation, but it wasn't always that way. All right, so we've got a so-so in the comments. Jill's got the high five times 2. So how many of you out there feel like you are a bad meditator? Like you just can't do it, you can't sit still, you get fidgety, you get frustrated because you have too many thoughts going in your mind, or you maybe have this little mental chatter, or it's your to-do list, or it's all the things that you didn't do, or it's everything you see in your home that needs to be fixed or cleaned up. Okay, me, I see that. So if you think that you are a bad meditator, then how likely are you to meditate when your good doctor says, hey, if you want to lower your stress, if you want to lower your blood pressure, if you want to kick any negative habit, you should meditate? How likely are you to do that? Probably not very likely. Because if you think you're a bad meditator, who wants to do something that we're bad at? Now, I see many more people are like, yep, you got mental chatter. You're like, yep, that's me. Well, here's what I want to say to you. I want to alter your identity as a bad meditator. I would just say this. You're just not yet a super experienced meditator. And for those of you who feel like you just can't meditate, I'm going to prove you wrong. So answer this question. Have you ever been in love or infatuated, and all you could do was like think about this person, think about their smile, think about their scent, or the way they taste, or the way they held you, and all you can do is just keep replaying scenes in your mind? Is there anybody out there that has felt that lovey-dovey sense of just, this person is on your mind 24/7. When you first wake up in the morning, the last thought before you go to sleep. Well, you, my friend, are a meditator. That's right, because meditation is just the act of focusing on one thing. And when your mind wanders, you bring it back. So you, my friend, you are a good meditator. Okay, so maybe you've never been in love. How many of you out there have ever been pissed off at someone, and all you could do was replay in your mind all the things they did and the way they said it and the look on their face and their stupid, stinky breath or whatever? How many of you have ever had that experience where you keep replaying something negative in your mind? It's on a loop. You can't get it out. You, my friend, have practiced successfully meditation. Now, that may not be the conscious, intentional source of meditation that I would love for you to have, but you have just proven to yourself that yes, you can meditate. Meditation is just the act of focusing on one thing. And when your mind wanders, because it's the nature of the mind to wander, you bring it back. It's that simple. That simple. Same thing goes for you're worried about a test, or you're worried about a ticket or an upcoming court case, and you keep replaying it in your mind. My friend, that's meditation. Okay, so I've convinced you. You're all meditators. So just knowing that we have this apparatus, this beautiful brain of ours that can sometimes be hijacked, we just need to learn how to train ourselves to be less reactive. So first and foremost, the reactivity that we feel is based on what is stored in the subconscious mind. The reactivity, meaning if someone cuts you off, do you instantly go into a rage, call them names? If someone were to call you out on something or point a finger, I don't like to even point my finger, but if I did it, would you instantly cower and maybe fawn or try to appease? Well, all of those reactions to stressful or confrontational situations, they're automatic. automatic reactions come from the past programming, and they're in the subconscious mind. That is what drives most of this reactive behavior. It's that it's not conscious. And so with meditation, what we're learning to do is to become conscious, and not control in a mean sense, but learn how to use our brain and use our mind to shift our state of consciousness, our state of awareness, and eventually being tuned in so that we respond consciously rather than react based on the subconscious programs. Y'all are getting this? Yes. So that is really what has helped me. By practicing meditation, you don't have to do it in silence. Sure, that is a wonderful practice for people who are skilled at doing that. But meditation can also be listening to a guided meditation, like my Attunement Meditation that I give out for free, and I host it every month in the Real Self-Love Live. You can listen to a guided meditation and try to tune into the visualization that the person is saying. Yoga Nidra, or the body scan, where you're literally focusing on parts of the body. That is a form of concentration meditation. Now, one of the things that's become really popular these days is popping on or in your headphones and listening to brainwave entrainment audio, which is something that I have been using for the last couple of years or year and a half, thanks to my dear friend, Dr. 𝐬𝐿𝐴, who introduced me to these binaural beats with this funky three-tone, pure tone technology. But basically the concept is, with these binaural beats, you're helping the brain synchronize. I mean, anybody else out there have kind of an ADD brain where you've got so many thoughts coming in, you want to get up, no, you want to sit down, no, you want to run, no, you want to, right? So we can actually listen to audio tracks, and there's a link in my bio if you want to check out the Brainwave Club, which is, again, what 𝐸𝐿𝐴 introduced me to, and I love it. It helps to synchronize the brain and basically do something that's called entrainment. So if you've ever heard of the various brain waves that we have, like right now, if you're paying attention and you're listening to my words and you're trying to understand me, then you've got some busy beta. And beta brain waves help us to think and to process. Unfortunately, if you've got way too much beta because you're in super stressed mode, that is also associated with a sense of tension, with a sense of anxiety, with not feeling calm and good in your body. And so normally what we do is we close our eyes, and normally as soon as you close your eyes, you start to get a little more alpha wave activity. And alpha is really, really critical for meditation because on the one hand, we can consider it a bridge to the subconscious mind. So the cool thing about listening to a guided audio meditation or some of these binaural beats, especially I am a fan and an affiliate of the Brainwave Club because they focus on specific brainwave frequencies rather than an audio that can take you all through, from busy beta to alpha to delta to theta to maybe even gamma. Like, it doesn't give you necessarily enough time for your brain to lock into that brainwave pattern so that you get the benefit of it. So for example, getting into alpha can start to calm down that busy beta so that you feel like you're getting back into your body, you're getting more calm. I use alpha brainwave training when I'm doing yoga or when I'm walking along the beach because it starts to synchronize the brain and get you into this alpha rhythm that is more peaceful. And we say that alpha is a bridge to the subconscious because when you can start to close your eyes, and there are open eye meditators who can get into alpha as well, but typically for most of us, if you're somewhat of a beginner, when you close your eyes and you get into alpha, the more that you're able to relax and maybe to start feeling sensations in your body, with time you can then tune in to theta waves. And theta brainwave patterns typically give us access to the subconscious. So remember I said all that reactionary stuff that's in the subconscious that drives us to react in ways that we're sometimes not so proud of? Well, you can go in there and start revising. So if you feel like the world is always out to get you, so you got to attack first, well, wouldn't it be nice to kind of go in and find out, well, where did you pick up that program? Because chances are you weren't born with it. Like, we are not born, unless, of course, your mother had a particularly turbulent and stressful pregnancy. Certainly we know that babies that are born in that situation have a very different orientation with their nervous system. But assuming that you had a decent experience in your mommy's tummy, babies are born not in this fight, flight, give me what I need, give me that bottle. We do have a natural instinct to orient towards the breast to get our nourishment, but we're not born thinking that the world is out to get us. We're born expecting and accepting love, attention, cuddling, swaddling. We just know we deserve it because we've just come from the womb where all of our needs were met. It was the perfect temperature. Sometimes, there was even music or mom and dad's voice and the heartbeat. Like, we had it perfect. So we come into the world expecting that. So if there is something in your subconscious that has you reacting, in my line of work, I want to help you reprogram. And self-programming can happen when we get into that theta state. We have access to the subconscious mind, which is the storehouse of our memories and our programming. If you're able to really get into a deep meditative state, whether on your own or with the help of entrainment audios, you can sometimes tune into delta. And delta, it allows us to connect with the whole field. So not just our own subconscious, but like the collective unconscious, and tuning into the field of what's around us. And that can help us develop our intuition and really do some of this deeper dive and deeper healing. And those delta waves are associated with deep sleep. So yeah. And then for some people, if you've ever had this happen where you're kind of going about and you're like, oh, I just got this brilliant idea. You could have been out for a jog, or maybe you were chopping vegetables, or maybe it was in the shower. Well, those kind of eureka aha moments are typically associated with gamma waves. And gamma waves are also associated with bliss. So if you saw that Time magazine article with the monk, Mathieu Ricard, he was hooked up with all of these EEG sensors. And as he started doing the compassion meditation, the scientists found that he had gamma off the chart. Like, they literally dubbed him the happiest man on earth. And we know that when you practice the compassion meditation, you tend to activate that left prefrontal cortex, parts of the brain that are associated with empathy and compassion and happiness, turning off that right critical side. So all of this is all about you learning how to get into these brainwave states on your own so that you aren't as reactive. So that when something comes up, whether it's a performance or your kid needs you or your spouse or your boss confronts you, you can take some breaths and train yourself over time to get back into that brainwave state. So I'd invite you to have a look on my YouTube channel. I did an interview with Judith Pennington from the Institute for the Awakened Mind. What an institute. I trained with Judith in 2019. That's how I met Arna and found out about the Brainwave Club. And I learned how to do this neurofeedback. And neurofeedback is something that researchers around the world are starting to realize can really help people heal from trauma. Because with neurofeedback, we're hooking up your brain so that you're looking at a screen, either in real time or after the guided meditation session, and you're able to see that you influence your own brainwave states. And as you learn how to get in these different brainwave states, you'll experience different states of consciousness. So just the state of meditation is one. You might have this sort of heightened sense that you're connected to the field. You're in that field of oneness. Judith Pennington at the Institute for the Awakened Mind was trained by Anna Weiss, who is one of the world's leading experts in studying people. And Anna learned from 𝐓𝐡𝐚𝐭'𝐬, who was hooking up the brains of yogis and mediums and Zen masters. Max Cade himself was a Zen master as well as a physicist. And what they found is that there are these reproducible patterns on our brainwave that when you get mapped, you can actually see what's happening as you experience different sensations in the body or as just a sense of your consciousness. So being the neuroscience nerd that I am, I was really excited to get trained in using the mind mirror. And I've been using it for since November of 2019. That was my birthday gift to myself that year. And I wrote a blog on Innate Vitality magazine outlining the 10 top benefits of following my brainwaves. So I'm saying all of this to say that one of the best ways that I have been able to shift my brain from looking at public speaking, going live, presenting it or singing in front of people, instead of looking at it as something to be scared of, I've shifted my brain to think of it as an excitement, but a positive excitement. And that has been really, really something that I've developed through meditation. Principally, just first going in and revising some of the past and doing this self-reprogramming to know that, okay, maybe I screwed up back when I was 12, but this is a whole new day and I have even more skills. And so ultimately what we need to do is we need to uncouple the memory from the past and the emotional reaction. And that is what we are taking advantage of with meditation. We're taking advantage of the fact that our brain, our neural circuitry, is plastic. That's what neuroplasticity means. It means we can create new tracks, new neurons, new synapses. So if you always had a tendency to maybe binge eat or binge drink or just dissociate, like leave your body in stressful periods of time or completely shut down, then those grooves in your brain have probably been really well worn. As we learn to meditate, we start creating new pathways. And if you do it with neurofeedback or you do something like the Brainwave Club where you're getting tracks every month and you're trying different ones, you'll see that you make progress over time that translates into your regular life. And so you can work with, like if you have a fear of public speaking, you can get in there and work with that on the subconscious level. You can work with learning how to calm your nervous system when it's appropriate. If you need to do some whooping of ass, that's a figurative term, then of course you want your stress response there. If you're, a parent and you needed to go and rescue, yes, you want your stress response active. But for the mundane things of going live on Instagram or Facebook or stepping up on stage, like if you feel like you have an idea worth spreading, then you want to be able to master your brainwave state and your physiology so that you communicate clearly. So if you have any questions about this, feel free to type in the chat. I hope that I've convinced you that yes, you are a good meditator. You might just need a little practice about directing the content of your meditations. So I invite you to check out the Brainwave Club. There's a link in my bio. You can also find my guided meditations on the Insight Timer app and website. You can listen totally for free. One of the things I like to do, if I need to go and work with my inner child or my inner critic, I'll put on the Brainwave Club track and then I'll listen to the audio of my guided meditation. So I know that I'm getting into that brainwave state and I can start working with the content in the subconscious mind. And that is what I love the most about this kind of approach. It's helping you train yourself to get into these deeper states of meditation so that you can embrace a calmer physiology, better connection with these higher brain centers, and ultimately, my goal would be for you to have expanded states of consciousness so that you're no longer trapped in this sense of little me or this little me-go, but instead you recognize that you and the divine, and me and all of it is just one. One is the magic number. Thus saith Jill Scott. So, my dear friends, I hope this has been interesting for you, to give you a little bit of an insight into how my nerdy brain works and why it works the way it does. A lot of people ask me, like, you don't seem to be slowing down. You just turned 50. I've published 15 books in the last 6 years, 5.5 years, still going strong. And I know that the anti-aging benefits of meditation, I go for that all day long. Instead of doing cryotherapy, like many of my friends do, jumping in the sea or cryo tanks at 𝐬𝐞𝐝𝐢𝐿 up in Iceland, I'll take my meditation daily, because it's been shown, it's been proven to enhance something called telomerase, which adds little end caps to our DNA. So meditating, especially for caregivers, for people who are stressed out, if you're in the helping professions, if you're an entrepreneur or a solopreneur, then you might notice that over time the stress is causing you to age faster. And some of that weathering from our stressful lives can be attributed to having decreased activity of this enzyme that normally protects the ends of our chromosomes. And meditation is a beautiful way to activate more of this telomerase, protect your genes. That's going to protect you from all those age-related diseases. So, Sal Abdu says, how many minutes of meditation would I recommend daily? I would start with whatever you're willing to do. If you're willing to do 5 minutes, then start there. All of my guided meditations, well, not all of them, I have created a group of guided meditations that are only 8 minutes. 8 is this infinitely beautiful number that has been shown to help people actually start to make these changes in the brain. I can get into all the science behind that and the great studies that have been done, but as little as 8 minutes a day, you can start seeing changes in the brain that correlate or correspond to decreased stress, decreased blood pressure, better impulse control, and for those of us that are in the medical field, also decreased pain. So I would start with as many as you're willing to do. If you're willing to do 15, great. If you can carve out 20, even better. But if you started off with 8 minutes a day, you'll see a few of mine on the Insight Timer app or on my website, andreapennington.com. You can start there and then increase as you wish. And yes, I am 50. And thank you. I look amazing. Very happy to know that. Thank you. And yes, Dr. Jill's going to be on with me live this Thursday, and we're going to be talking about how keeping secrets ages you and can destroy your health, and how sharing your story, either with a therapist, in a support group, on a TEDx stage, can actually be a healing process. But Dr. Jill says the Mayo Clinic has shown that meditation reduces inflammation, the root of so many health concerns. Absolutely. So if we were to draw your blood, like they've done in these studies, they follow people for 8 weeks and 12 weeks, people doing like mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, which is woven into the Attunement Meditation. They've seen that these inflammatory blood markers decrease. You can do that. Like, you have so much more power than any doctor, any surgeon, and any pharmaceutical. You have that power. And that's why I'm here. And yes, Brainwave Guidance Therapy UK, Brainwave Club. Could you have chosen a shorter name for your Insta handle? Yes, small practices daily can make big changes. Thank you for the great work that you're doing. Thank you for the brainwaves that I listen to every day that are helping me. These brainwave tracks are so helping me. Oh, man. Oh, yes, and 𝐏𝐲𝐝𝐢𝐿. Okay, you know who I'm talking about. Meditation or mindfulness. That's a great distinction. So meditation, just to recap, is the act of focusing your attention on one thing, and every time your mind wanders, bringing it back to that one thing. So you could be meditating on a mantra, or you could be focusing your concentration on the flickering flame of a candle. Or you could be focusing on the sensations in your body as you do a body scan. That would be meditation. Mindfulness, on the other hand, is the practice of being in the present moment with open awareness, with no judgment. So we're neither trying to change something or clinging or grasping for something, nor are we pushing away or saying that something is bad. Mindfulness is just being in this present moment with an open mind, curious maybe. Mindfulness is about noticing what is here in the present moment. And so in mindfulness, sometimes we say, as you're having your cup of tea, really be present and mindful, not looking at the internet or looking at the television, but like the cup, noticing the warmth, the taste, the aroma. How does it feel going down your throat? Maybe you can even feel it in your esophagus or your stomach. Like, that's what mindfulness is. It's about being present. And if you're in a conversation, you're looking at the person, you're really tuning in. So that's the difference. And ADSRS says, must it be daily to see results? It doesn't have to be daily that you meditate, but you will see better results the longer you do it and the more often that you do it. Because remember, if you think about the brain with all of its grooves, most of the things we've done, we've practiced. Being mad, being angry, eating, brushing our teeth, like whatever. We have created tracks, neural pathways for so many years that they become the default. Like, that's just the way we go. So if you're trying to install a new habit or trying to calm down your nervous system or tune into the subconscious or start feeling better in your body, then the more often that you do it, then you start creating new tracks in your brain. And so it's best if you can carve out 5 to 8 minutes every day. But if you miss a couple days in the week, no big deal. Just pick it right back up. And speaking about mindfulness again, if you just practice mindfulness, that's also going to help you, because mindfulness is about mindful attention, like attention in the present moment, not floating around with anxiety about tomorrow or the future or regret for the past, but right here, right now. So if you didn't have the 8 minutes to sit and meditate, you could do it as you're standing in line, just like really tuning in, like to your foot. You could literally be like, okay, let me just be mindful of the pressure on my right foot. And being mindful is a form of concentration, which is leading us towards meditation. But what you're also doing is you're training yourself to be conscious rather than in reactionary mode. Make sense? All right. Well, it has been lovely to see you all here. I hope that this has enlightened some of you on the benefits of meditation. I would love to see some of you in our speaker training. If you want to learn how to become an effective speaker, my speaker circle, which is a virtual speaker training, and Speak from the Heart is in person. They will be going live. Registration opens in a couple weeks. Let me know. So Ms. Keg says, how can you measure the effectiveness of the meditation? I've been meditating almost twice a day for a year, but I'm not sure if it's helping. The best way I would say, if you're not in a research study and they're not drawing your blood to see inflammatory markers, is I would journal. So journaling about what you feel or what's going on in your life. So for most people, there's usually something that we're trying to work on or fix. Is it your anger issues, your eating, your sleep? I would journal about where you are today, or maybe you already journal and you can go back and see what you were writing about a year ago. But typically we would pay attention to whatever symptoms or conditions are going on in our life. And yes, it might be good that if you had high blood pressure, you could see that your numbers come down. If you had high blood glucose and you're being monitored, you could see that that comes into better controlled range. But the other thing is just to look at, well, how many times have I gotten into fights lately? I'm not saying that you're a fighter, but maybe that's part of your thing, to be very reactionary. Because a lot of the benefits that we see with meditation translate into our everyday life. Being more creative, being more compassionate, being more tuned in. Maybe your intuition is better, being calmer and less reactive, maybe a better diet. So that's what I'd say. I would say look back and see what you used to do and see if those things are still active. And if not, start journaling now if you don't have a journal from when you started your meditation practice. All right? So my friends, thank you so much for tuning in. It's a pleasure to see you. And I will see you on Thursday when Dr. Jill Stalker and I go live, but it won't be on Instagram. It'll be on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube simultaneously, where we will be discussing and taking your questions live. All right. And awesome. Ms. Keg said you actually had cortisol testing, and the results show that your cortisol level decreased in the mornings after you meditate. Boom. That's what I like to see. That's one of the reasons why I do this brainwave training with the EEG, is that you can start tracking and your progress to see that you are creating that. You did that. No one had to give you a drug. You did that. All right, my friends. Thank you so much for being here. If you're watching on the replay, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, share it with somebody, and definitely check out the links in my bio for more support. Sending you so much love from the sunny, well, the sun is setting, French Riviera. Bye for now.